And the recording has been started, so that's awesome. Thank you, Esther. We are here together. I will be hosting this session, and Angela will be watching the chats for questions. So if you have questions, please pop them in the chat. And we have Tim, of course, sharing his knowledge on how to use generative AI to your advantage. But before we start, this awesome program team wants to welcome you. Thank you for attending the Online Scrum Master Summit. We have Esther, the founder and the main host. She is here, but she's having a short break in her long sessions running from 10 to 10. So we'll give her a break. Jeannie from the marketing focus group, Anita selecting all the speakers together with her group, Carla doing the sponsors, and I will be here today hosting this session. So, of course, we have a lot of other sessions and workshops. We started today with lightning talks, and we'll end this evening with a keynote. And in between, there's a lot of valuable content for you to digest. And I can imagine that you cannot be everywhere or attend everything. But we have something for you, and that is the All Access Pass. It costs 67 euros currently. It will go up to 147 on Friday. But with this All Access Pass, you get access to a platform where you can find the recordings of all the sessions. You'll find the speaker slides, so that's exclusive for the All Access Pass. You'll find the AI summary and the chat history. And a lot of conversations have been going on in chat history, so you might want to take a look at that. So there's the QR code, and Angela will also paste the link probably into the chat. This summit could not have been made possible without the support of Scrum.org, the home of Scrum. So we're very thankful for their support in helping to keep this conference free. So thank you, Scrum.org. Then, as an appreciation for you all listening in and joining in from all over the world, 101 countries to be exact, we have a present for you. And we have a digital goodie bag for you. It's not filled with socks or stickers or pens or things that you would throw away after a conference, but it's filled with discounts and downloads, very valuable content from our speakers and our sponsors. So again, there is a QR code. Don't scan it now because you will be distracted by all these good things that are in the goodie bag. And we need your attention for Tim because, well, that's almost starting. If you share your insights and key takeaways on LinkedIn, you can win a prize. If you use the hashtag OSMS25 and you tag Online Scrum Master Summit, every day you can win something. And yesterday, the winner got a online workshop for team building, but today we have this amazing prize. We have 3 digital copies of the book Agile Marketing by Greg, also a speaker here. So go share on LinkedIn, and don't forget to add the hashtag, finally a use for hashtags, I guess, and tag the Online Scrum Master Summit. So without further ado, I want to hand over the mic to you, Tim, and I also will hand over the spotlight. So you are in the spotlight. I will stop sharing, and I wish you the best with your session. Enjoy.
All right. Thank you so much, Evelyn. It's a pleasure to be presenting today. And let me queue up all of my things. So are we good with a slideshow? That's the better question. Can everybody see this? Excellent. All right. So one of the things that I've been experimenting with quite a bit is using generative AI to help me build backlogs. So let's set the stage. As agile professionals, we're always looking for ways to work smarter, and generative artificial intelligence isn't just a buzzword in our space. It's a practical tool that's changing the way that we create and manage our backlogs. And in this session, I'm going to show you how AI can help us move from backlog chaos to clarity. And the best part is you're going to get some hands-on experience. So for anyone who is, new to this, there's this understanding, especially as a Scrum Master, that we're all under pressure to deliver more value faster. And AI can automate some of our repetitive tasks and analyze mountains of feedback and surface insights that help us prioritize what matters. Today, you're going to see a few live demonstrations of AI tools and action, and you're going to get to try it yourself. So I'm going to give you an activity to start this session with. Find your favorite AI tool. Could be ChatGPT, could be Perplexity, could be Claude Sonnet. Choose a tool, have it ready to go, because we're going to go into breakout rooms and we're going to be testing some of the prompt activity that I've got planned for us. So, can I get a thumbs up? Is everybody ready to dive in? Excellent. Thank you so much. All right. So we've already made this interactive. And in the chat, I want you to tell me, what has your experience been with AI so far? Are you excited? Are you skeptical? Are you curious? Your input is going to shape how we focus my demo and discussions today. So what are some of the comments that are showing up? Because I get a limited view into our chat comments here.
Oh, I had to unmute. I'm sorry.
No worries.
Makes my life easier. Curious. I've barely scratched the surface. Mixed feelings as well. Sometimes afraid. Using it already regularly, it helps. I use it a little. The quality is still missing for it to be a time saver for some use cases. Curious, but also cautious at times. Makes my life easier. Mixed magic. Mixed feelings. Feel lazy sometimes. Excited and curious. I use it daily and it makes me much more productive. Curious.
Excellent. So we're getting a full spectrum, right, Evelyn?
Yeah. Yeah.
Excellent. All right. So we're going to do a little bit of perception setting here. I'm going to take a little bit of time to run through some of the history and where we're at, because there's a lot of hype around artificial intelligence, specifically generative artificial intelligence. And here's the truth. AI is a tool. It's not a replacement for Scrum teams. It's here to help us, not take over. And throughout the session, you're going to see how AI can assist you and not replace you. Because human judgment and creativity, those are the things that make agility work for everyone. So, The Terminator. I think this is probably one of the first movies I ever saw that really scared me when it came to artificial intelligence. So, there's just a ton of bad feeling that goes into this experience for me because I was a young man at the time and I went, "Oh my gosh, I just joined the Navy. Is this what I'm going to be facing if I make a career out of this?" By the Navy, I mean the US Navy. The truth is, it's actually more like the comic, where oftentimes companies will unleash artificial intelligence and there will be an expression of the law of unintended consequences. So, we're going to dive into another activity real quick. And this is going to show you kind of where generative AI begins and ends. So you've got a blank. And I want you to think through the first word that comes to mind, put that word in the chat. And Evelyn, if you do me a favor, read some of those out.
Good job. Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good day, good good snowball. Good idea.
Yeah. And so we've got a statistical sampling there. And that's really important because there's an ongoing discussion as generative AI evolves, whether it's probabilistic or deterministic. And it's a mixture of both, but it actually trends towards probability. Now, I've been going down this rabbit hole, so there's a lot of terms that I could throw out regarding some of the technology behind the scenes, including neural networks and unsupervised learning. For us on the business side of this, what generative AI does for us is basically looks at the entire sentence and figures out what the next right word might be in its response. And that's a really oversimplified way of saying it's a very intelligent parrot. Parrots get trained to make us think that they're speaking, when in reality, they're just mimicking what they've been taught, what they've been trained to do. So I don't want to undersell the capability. Certainly, these tools have a lot of great things that they're capable of. But at the end of the day, it's garbage in, garbage out. The responses are only as good as the prompts that go in. And even more important, the training that created the model in the first place. So this is notionally the Gartner hype cycle. And we've all seen fads come and go, and AI is here to stay, especially generative AI, because it's actually delivering real results. So today we're going to cut through some of this hype and we're going to actually see how this can work practically and really focus on the hands-on aspects of this that you can use right away coming out of this workshop. So, yeah, I am hoping that this session is going to get you to a point on the slope of enlightenment, and kind of guide you through a low trough of disillusionment, not a deep trough. So here's what's in store. Okay. Like I said, some live tool demonstrations. I'm going to show you how Perplexity can actually work for backlog creation. I've got a cool demo for that. I'm going to show you some backlog creation examples. In fact, one of the things I thought through in preparing for this workshop is I've got YouTube videos on my channel that are not publicly facing. So I recorded some of my own experimentation so that you can refer back to it. I think a handful of the videos don't actually have any sound, so you won't have the distraction for me narrating the video, but you'll actually see some of the steps that I've gone through to create some demonstration backlogs. And then in the breakout sessions, what I'm going to encourage is that they're much like rallycross driving. And I'm a anybody who gets to know me, I like cars, I like fast cars, I like racing. I'm a big Formula One fan. I don't know too many people who are not at this point, since it's a global phenomenon. But rallycross is really where my heart is because you've got the driver and you've got the navigator. So I would ask that somebody act as the driver when doing the experimentation and somebody act as the navigator. So, work with the driver to put in the next set of responses or prompts as you're going through this tooling experience. And this is only if you feel comfortable with it. I'm not asking you or compelling you to do anything that you don't want to do, but I think it'll help as far as the overall experience is concerned. So, one of the things that we're seeing evolve is the fact that AI is moving from kind of this place of replacing search engines to this slope of increased organizational effectiveness. I'm going to take a pause and I'm going to ask the question, have you in your organization or with your clients been adopting the use of generative AI tools?
Do you
And
want the
with
answer
that,
from that?
yeah, if you put those answers in the chat, Evelyn will help me out and
Yeah.
give me some of those.
I think I've seen yeses, one no. Yes, the organization is implementing. No. Yes, it's in progress. Yes. No. No.
Okay. Uh, a, a bit of
Both.
hesitation, I think, on the backside of that as far as adoption and use, which is not unusual. I actually had to explicitly ask one of the product owners that I'm working with. So, TJ, I noticed that you're using ChatGTP for a number of things. Just for the sake of our team and helping us to orient, as long as we're not putting company specific information out there, can we use subscription tools like Copilot, like ChatGTP, Perplexity, Claude? And he said, certainly. Just make sure that you're putting generic information out there to guide your research, to help you build understanding about how you might, you know, develop code, to debug code that's not company specific. There's always a ton of disclaimers, but I think it's good to set the guardrails from the start as to what a safe and effective use of generative artificial intelligence looks like. So there's this spectrum, and the reason why I asked this question is we've got this full, you know, line of uses, and one of the things that I like pointing out is we probably do not want generative artificial intelligence controlling a space shuttle or really any other sort of, you know, spacecraft. Flashback for me was 2001 and how locking Dave out of the airlock and not letting him back into the spacecraft. Again, kind of like the Terminator reference. This is one of those where it's like I can see the worst case scenario of where AI could head us if we're not guiding it and putting the guardrails in place. You know, so we start here on the easy stuff when it comes to using artificial intelligence in general. And then we progress to, hey, by the way, I think we're getting into the danger zone over here. Let's not put humans at risk, especially when it comes to generative artificial intelligence taking over our responsibility to think, to reason, to be creative, to problem solve. So there's a famous saying, and it's widely attributed to Samuel L. Clements, whose pen name was, of all things, Mark Twain. There are lies, there are damned lies, and there are statistics. So one of the things that we try to do at Improving is really think through and discuss these different things that generative artificial intelligence has a tendency of maybe glossing over or we forget as users, and we give too much credence or too much weight to a response from a Gen AI tool. You know, this is, you know, the perspective piece for me is really where it hits home, because most of these tools know a lot of things, but they don't have the right guardrails or context in which to operate. You know, bias. I'm I'm hoping that most of you have heard about bias and how models are created. I know I have to think through this. I'm a girl dad, so I think through the process of, hey, my daughters are using these tools. What does this look like? Is it going to create them create problems for them, or solve problems for them based on a gender bias? Because let's face it, information technology is still predominantly male heavy, which we're trying to fix that. So, you know, these are the things that we have to work through when we're using these tools to make sure that we're not getting outputs we prefer versus outputs that are actually productive and useful. Hallucinations. This is one of my favorite topics. AI hallucinations really can result in outputs that seem plausible but are factually incorrect. And evaluating these results is essential to ensure the accuracy, reliability, and regular validation processes should be in place to catch those errors. By understanding and addressing these hallucinations, any of us can foster a greater trust in AI systems and use them more effectively. So there's nothing wrong with asking AI for receipts. So where did you get this? What did you mean by this? How do you know this is accurate? And some of the tooling, and I'm going to reveal some of my bias. And one of the reasons why I use Perplexity quite a bit for research on the web is because I get great references out of Perplexity that I can click the link, go back to the original source, understand the context in which it's synthesizing the response for me, and then go, yes, that's accurate. Or, hey, Perplexity, I'm not so sure you understood fill in the blank. So I can correct it as I'm iterating with the tool. All right. So let's think of our generative AI tools as a tireless intern army. Okay. It can help us to automate backlog refinement, help us prioritize work with frameworks like Moscow, you know, must have, nice to have, these these things along with the weighted scoring and analyzing feedback and aligning our work with strategic goals, these are all things that can be done with an application of generative artificial intelligence. So we're still scrum masters, we're still product owners, we're still dev team members, and AI is here to assist us, not decide what the most valuable work is that we should be performing. So I'm going to take a pause because now we're going to transition from the introduction into the workshop piece of this. So, Evelyn, have we had any questions come up based on what's been shared so far?
No questions yet.
Okay,
There
excellent.
actually has been just one ask, I guess, that some people are having trouble hearing you.
Oh,
And
okay,
if you could turn your volume up, I can hear you fine, but yeah, that would be
excellent.
awesome.
How's that coming across? Because I can adjust my gain almost infinitely.
I can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah,
Okay, okay,
hopefully that helps everybody. Thank you.
yeah. This is the nice thing about actually having hardware and not being reliant on software to do the volume adjustments. So thank you, Angela. Appreciate it. So I hope whoever it is that's hearing me a little bit softly, you know, me adjusting the gain has kind of fixed that for you. So anyhow, so getting results from AI is all about clear and specific prompts. So we're going to practice together using a format called RTCC, roles, tasks, context, and constraints. And you're going to see you'll see how to craft your prompts better as far as looking at your backlog and getting the right type of responses out of the backlog. And so we're going to discuss a couple of different approaches. This is one that we actually use in our artificial intelligence for product management workshop that we host at Improving. And I know both Blake McMillan as well as Don McGreal have worked tirelessly to get this structure correct so that it's actually useful for product development professionals like ourselves. So we're also going to look at some of the different tools. I've got my tabs open on a web browser to show you what I've been using. And I'm going to show you how to integrate the tools without disrupting your team's rhythm. So let's get hands-on. Here's our first scenario. All right, we've got this online coffee subscription service called Coffee to Live. And by the way, I'm a heavy coffee drinker, so I definitely have some bias on this scenario, although I didn't work on crafting it. So what we want to do is we want to analyze customer reviews for new features and ideas, and to prioritize backlog items based on a predicted impact. And of course, break down some epics into some actionable stories, and so get some suggestions for acceptance criteria. So you're going to work in small groups to refine and improve these stories in real time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out how to drop out of here real quick, and I'm going to rejoin you in chat, and I'm actually going to give you a link to a document that I have created for this particular scenario, and it's saved out on my G Drive so that you guys can access it. So let me know once you've got this open, and then from there, we can go into the breakout rooms, and you can take all of the reviews. Some of the reviews are actually specifically broken out for improvement. And I'll take and reshare my screen, because what you're going to do is you're going to use an approach called a one-shot. So this is going to be one of those interesting things where it's a multi-step process. So I don't want to invest too much of your time if everybody has a fairly good understanding of what these approaches are: zero shot, one shot, few shot, and the understanding around contextual memory and chain of thought reasoning.
Tim, you're sharing your wrong screen, I guess.
Oh my goodness. Look at that. Thank you. Boy, it did not do me a favor on that one. Appreciate that.
Welcome.
Okay. And now we've got the right screen up.
Yeah.
All right. So zero shot, one shot, few shot, contextual memory, and chain of thought. So in the chat, can I get a yes, I've heard of this stuff, or no, this is all new to me?
No. Never heard of. No, no, new, no, yes, no, no, yes, no, new. Yes, I've experimented. New, all new. No, new, new, yes, 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 new.
All right. So we've got a pretty balanced blend on this.
Again,
I don't want, yeah. So think of zero shot as, hey, you're putting in a prompt or you're putting in a question, and boom, you're just taking what it gives you. One shot is really putting in that initial prompt. I'm looking for specific Python libraries that will help me to do statistical analysis. I'm familiar with this Python library, this Python library, and this Python library. What other Python libraries I consider? So that's one shot. The initial prompt would be looking for Python libraries. The other additional context is that one shot. Few shots is really when you're giving it multiple patterns and you're explaining specifically around that library scenario. I understand what scikit does. I understand what NumPy does. I am looking for additional libraries that help me work through fuzzy logic problems. And I'm using Python as an example because last summer I got pulled into a situation where I needed to do some analysis for a client. And crazy as it sounds, there wasn't a generative AI tool out there commercially that I could use to do this analysis. So I rolled up my proverbial sleeves, got to work in Perplexity, and started learning Python. So it's a nice story. I always have fun with it. I am the actor playing a professional software developer on Scrum teams occasionally. So, and then contextual memory is really the amount of memory that is allocated to your thread. So one of the things that has happened to me, it may happen to you, is the fact that as time goes on and you put more exchanges in a particular thread, it gets a little bit slower, a little bit slower, a little bit slower. And at some point, the AI just really goes dumb. So this is a challenge. I know takes a lot of compute power, a lot of storage and memory to make these things work. So the challenge is not lost on me, and I hope it's not lost on you. You should probably be very focused and direct. And if you sense that you're losing your thread, just start a new thread and give it a bit of context based on your last exchange. It doesn't have to be a whole lot, you know. And then chain of thought is really where you can set the context and you can ask it to go through its process step by step. Walk me through how you came up with this particular response, or walk me through your thoughts or the way that you found this information. Now, a lot of the newer models actually go through this reasoning process. They've made it transparent. They just surface what was already going on below the surface in the chat interface. So it's nice to be able to look and open, hit a caret, expand that, and see how the model walk through the results it produced. So I hope that kind of covers it in a nutshell for those who are not familiar with these concepts. All right. So let's do this. Let's use those reviews, go into the breakout rooms. Can we set the timer for 5 minutes, Angela, when we assign the breakout rooms, and do a 0 shot for information gathering? So somebody be a driver, another be a navigator, and then if you've got time, you can switch.
Okay. Do you want me to set it up for everybody now?
Yes, please.
Send them into the
Thank
rooms?
you.
Okay.
Yep.
There we go. He's back. Tim is back. You're on mute though.
Great. Wonderful. The presenter's on mute.
I'm sorry about that.
Yeah,
Was
no
it okay for
worries.
you to be in a room?
Oh, it was perfect actually. And
Okay.
I got to connect with Abby and Anna, and we were working through this ourselves. So,
Awesome.
hey, so, how did that feel? Did it surprise you? Were a little bit, was your curiosity piqued? Oh, better yet, how good were the responses just based on a bit of information that you provided it? And anybody can come off mute at this point to share their thoughts. Very broad, yeah. Already quite useful. That's great. Lacked context. Yeah, you're right, Tim. And this is one of those dangers, when we really think through this a whole 0 shot approach where it's like, yeah, not quite what I was looking for. And this is the reason why, getting more refined in the way that we prompt gives us better results. So let's go back to the presentation. So we've experienced what 0 shot looks like. All right. And this is really one of the most important things that any one of us can do when we're prompting. We need to write clear and specific instructions. The clarity can't be overestimated. I like to do very specific guidance when I'm putting my prompts together. And also, I prefer things that are framed in a certain way. So I'm not going to go too far off the road with this, but one of the things that I've got is in my Perplexity spaces, I have my tech research space set up in a way that the response is more plain business language than what it is tech language. So it helps me from the business side be able to explain certain concepts or even share those outputs with people that are better understood in non-technology speak. So this is one of those things where it's like, yeah, get the right response, the right language around that. So here's the prompt structure that we're going to work through next. So the role, a task, the context, and the constraints. So that's the RTCC approach. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy these two statements or RTCC selections out of the slides, and I will drop them in chat for you so that you can use them. Because this is going to be the next experiment that we walk through. Of course, PowerPoint's not where it needs to be. All right, there is the first one. And here comes the second one. Okay, and you can use either one of these. And this is going to be more of a few shot approach. So what I'd like to do, Angela, if we can set up the breakout rooms once again, and we'll give everybody 5 minutes. This time around, basically using the same driver and the same navigator, work through this in that original window that you started with in your tool and see how much better the results are with that feedback. Because I think you may be surprised. So, Angela, whenever you're ready, you can send us to the rooms for 5 more minutes.
Okay, here we go.
Ah, there's Tim again. Of course, you're muted, Tim.
Back, everyone.
Hey, Tim, I have a quick question for you.
Sure.
There was a
Yeah.
room and maybe others that had trouble copy and pasting. Is everything in the Word, in the Google Doc, in there? The prompts are in there?
I just Anna and I were experimenting with that, and the answer is no.
Oh, okay.
and yeah, we discovered it on the fly as well as like, oh well, gee, there's a correction form for you. So what I am going to do is because you have access to the Google document in perpetuity, I'm actually going to put those two specific prompts that the RTCC prompts in the Google document below the feedback. So, I do apologize. That was not a technical challenge I was expecting to have to go through, but I hope the 5 minutes that you guys did spend together kind of gave you an idea of how that specific prompting might work. So, I want to get back into the slides real quickly because I know we're almost at the edge of our time. Workshops are always funny that this way where it's like there's great discussions, there's lots of great feedback, but being the scrum master that I am, I always want to be respectful of the time box, knowing that we've got other sessions to attend as well. So all of us need to really do the needful on this, which is reading and evaluating any sort of response that generative artificial intelligence creates for us. there's, going back to that army of interns, I like to say 1,000 interns. It's just like any one of us, going into an internship, first year out of university, we really don't know what to do. So getting a critical look at what those responses are, both from us individually as a product owner or as a scrum master, in addition to the development team, that's going to help us figure out how close or how far away from having useful responses that we can add to the backlog we are. So, and like anything, knowing that we're developing products, and especially in the software space, we get to go through the iteration cycle, which is refining those prompts and adjusting. One of the things that I oftentimes do is just say directly to the AI, hey, we're not on the right track. Let's reset, or let's restart this. And the AI is not going to argue with any one of us when it comes to this. So it's just one of these things where you'll figure out what this looks like for yourself as you go on. And before I forget, one of the things I want to do, I've got a series of additional links that I'm going to drop into the chat for you, which is a 4 additional Google documents, because these will help you get beyond RTCC into my prompting style directly. So a lot of tools, I've mentioned a number of them. The neat thing that I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull my mobile over, and we're going to do this with Perplexity in real time. So I've got Perplexity wired in. Hopefully this works as it has in the past in my exchanges. And there's a number of videos out on my YouTube channel where I've done this. So let's test drive this. If you guys can't hear the response from Perplexity, let me know, because I'll do a quick pivot like any Agilist should, and we'll get to the point where we wrap up. I want to build a product backlog for a proof of concept that needs to be completed in 3 to 4 weeks. Give me the information that you need to do that. Oh, and of course,
build a product backlog for a proof of concept that needs to be completed in 3 to 4 weeks. I'll need several key pieces of information from you to ensure the backlog is focused, actionable, and achievable within your time frame. First, I'll need a clear understanding of your vision and the specific goals for this proof of concept. What problem are you trying to solve? And what does success look like at the end of these 4 weeks? This helps define the boundaries and priorities for the backlog. Next, I'll need to know who your target users are and what outcomes or user job tasks are most critical for them.
So did that come across fairly clear for you? Because I don't want to assume it did. Okay. So that's just a quick demonstration. That's Perplexity on my mobile phone. Now I've got a pro subscription, so I've got access to a little bit more capability.
Tim, one sec. Because of the sound that came in, that went up, and now you went down with your volume. So if you could up your volume again.
Yeah. How's that, Esther?
Better, thank you.
All right. So I don't want to go through the whole thing, because as you can tell, I can get into a lot of detail with this. This is one of those things where I've done this before, and I can get a pretty good proof of concept backlog built for the team to start with in about 45 minutes, but I've had practice. So it becomes an accelerator. Tools like this are very useful. I wanted to show you that in real time because I want to spark your curiosity coming out of this. This is one of those neat spaces that we're living in right now, where the boundaries are pretty infinite for what we can do as far as experimentation is concerned. Also, a lot of these tools don't do a good job of data analysis on spreadsheets. So I wanted to caution you because I've been there, I've done that, hasn't been really successful. But if you figure out a way to do that, please let me know. So I know we're short on time. We got some of the Q&A actually in the chat, but I also wanted to give you the opportunity to connect with me on LinkedIn and also WhatsApp, because I know WhatsApp is a pretty good tool for international conversations. I'm really open to explore this with you because I'm using it myself, and of course, traditional email. So let me do this. I'm going to copy the rest of my Google Documents. So I'm going to drop out, and I think we've got the slides are going to go out to everybody who attended this session, correct?
No, they will be made accessible through the All Access Pass, which you can buy for 67 euros.
Excellent. Excellent. So let me stop sharing. Oh. So I can get back to the chat. And I'm going to drop a number of different links from my Google Drive. And you're going to get access to some sample work that I've already done. That was pretty successful. Oh, one of the things I did want to give you insights on, and I've been doing this coming out of a lot of my events recently, is if your client and your team feel comfortable allowing you to run a transcript of the event, especially like a sprint review, ask if you can A, take the recording, or B, at a minimum, get the recording, get the transcript of that particular event, feed it into a tool like Copilot. 2 simple prompts: act as a business analyst and review this document. Create user stories or create action items from this transcript. Act as a business analyst and review this document. Create action items or user stories from this transcript. It's amazing how quickly you can get some very bare bones user stories out of a transcript that you can bring in front of your team. It acts as a catalyst for backlog refinement. And once everybody's happy with the context around those, then you may have 5 or 6 user stories just waiting out of that sprint review that you can pull into your backlog and work in your next sprint, going from review to planning fairly quickly. It's not foolproof. It's not perfect, but I've done it, and it helps me focus on removing impediments in the organization. So on that note, Evelyn, I'm going to turn it back over to you to close this out.
Yes, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge on generative AI. And I saw some comments of people that went from curiosity